Hello, my friends. This is Lada from astrolada.com. Today I'm here with the lovely Krasi Babylonian Ancient Astrologer, who is going to lead us through the month of July and focus on the eclipses and how to protect ourselves and what to do according to Babylonian and ancient lore. She will give us a very different perspective on the eclipses. Hi, Krasi.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Ada. Thank you. Yes, we will talk. I will make an introduction, just what to expect in general from the month of July, but also later on we will continue with prognosis day per day, just to know what is ahead of us. Of course, we have to talk about the two eclipses, we just cannot forget about them. First, just a very general picture, Wada. We all know that when we make prognosis of the month, we follow up the course of the moon, because everything which the moon meets on her path, like stars or planets, all this is producing events for us. So we are following the path of the moon. And we will start from I will not, of course, talk about the days in the past, but just very generally to say that for us, the first lunar day is when we see the first lunar crescent, and this is starting on the 15th of July. And this first lunar day is giving the complete picture of the whole lunar month. So how the month started, very briefly, so that you know.
You mean 15th of June? It started?
Excuse me, 15th of June. So what we saw on the 15th of June is that the moon, the first lunar crescent, was afflicted by Saturn and Pluto, and that the first lunar crescent appeared conjoined Pollux, and this is one of the two great twins, one of the Geminis, the Gemini. And this is, of course, can bring conflicts, natural phenomena in a negative shape. This is not very positive. But of course, the sky has all these planets and not all of them are positive. So it's not a reason to be negative. But we had the good thing is that on the same day, the day after, we had Mercury, which was born from the rays of the sun for the first time. Now, here you may hear all kinds of descriptions how Mercury is wonderful because he's in his own sign, appearing in Gemini. The problem is that you should take into consideration that he indeed was born heliacally, but he was afflicted severely from Saturn. And all this that you're preparing yourself for, it's like wonderful travel or wonderful oratory speech or wonderful media events or astrological activities may not appear as you like, because he's severely afflicted by Saturn, and Saturn is in exact conjunction, in exact opposition.
When Mercury appears.
Yes, whoever tells you how wonderful this is.
How long will this effect of Mercury be like that with Saturn?
Well, Mercury, quite long Mercury will be visible, I think, until now. He's appearing as evening first on the 15th, around 15, 16, because you never know when we see him. It's approximate date. It is 15th of June, and then he's becoming invisible again on the 10th of July, always around, because
in this period, its influence is the same as when it appeared, under the influence of Saturn. Okay.
Yes,
so yes. Delays in business meetings, business plans, and trip plans, some complications, some obstacles to overcome, maybe having to do things over and over, because Saturn is this planet that wants you to repeat things.
Yes, and let's not forget that Saturn is not just standing there like Saturn, but he's also in a special phase. He's in his acronical rise. He's very powerful, also against the sun. And this is influencing the gold market down. This is influencing the markets in general because of Mercury. So yes, you may plan your marketing strategy strategies, business activities, but take into consideration that you may be delayed. You may have all sorts of obstacles because of this very, very powerful Saturn.
Mm-hmm.
You may plan your trips, but plan it with caution because of this.
And after the 10th of July, it's no longer valid?
After the 10th of July, Mercury is invisible again. So then you will not really benefit as you could benefit from the visible Mercury. Example, if you, for example, create an article and you publish it when Mercury is visible, you will have much better result than if you would publish the article with Mercury is invisible. You know this.
Mm-hmm. And when does it become visible again? Is it in July or later on?
Oh, we have to wait. I'm not sure. I have to check this. Maybe later when we conclude, I will do another check and I'll tell you. So to continue just with the general picture, be cautious with Mercury. Make your initiatives, but note that he's having the obstacle of Saturn. This is what I wanted to say. So not to be completely negative. We shouldn't be.
Yes, because Mercury is visible, so we have to do those Mercury things now, but just know that it's going to be more effort. And
do this Saturnian, it's like connect if you want with Saturn. Make your prayer to Saturn to be softer to you, you know, just connect with the planets. This can be a remedy in a way.
Yes, conscious connection through prayer, through a conversation even, like washing the dishes in your Saturn, my buddy, please, you know.
Oh, yes, connect with Saturn. It's like, you know, since you're following Wada's channel, you should all be very awake to know that every planet and star have a life spirit ruling the planet. So this is the spirit that you can really address with your respect, of course, like a general rule, and with your request.
Because, you know, people hate Saturn. They're like, oh, Saturn is ruining my life. Saturn sucks. Saturn transiting my moon or whatever. And instead of cussing Saturn, we maybe have to kind of, instead cajole him and Saturn, you know, be my friend. Give me be reasonable and wise. And let me accept your lessons and follow your rules.
Absolutely. The other thing with Saturn is, in ancient times, Saturn was not hated. They feared Mars. Saturn was considered the Lord of wisdom. So if we really approach Saturn as such, and we understand that he's the one responsible to take care of our karma, then we will have different lessons from Saturn as well.
You know, Vedic astrology looks at Saturn as the true planet of spirituality, like the wise person. Jupiter is religiousness. The faith, but Saturn is true spirituality and kind of wise spirituality that is long suffering and accepting and humble and all those things. Yeah.
So saying the truth, having high moral values, all this will soften his influences.
Oh, okay. Saying the truth, high moral values. So obviously, if a person is like that naturally in their life, Saturn transits or Saturn influences will be much easier on them generally.
Yes, for example, good that you say this. Look at the Saturn returns. When you're 30, your Saturn return is a nightmare. When you're around 60, your Saturn return, look at the horoscopes that you made for people. When they have the Saturn return and they're 60, it's softer because they gained more wisdom.
And they become humbler usually.
Yes. And that's why Saturn is not hitting them with a big hammer, you know?
True. Absolutely.
Yes, I just noticed this with the time that when I look at older people and their horoscopes, it's much easier for them.
Saturn transits get easier with time, absolutely.
Yeah, because we gain wisdom. This is the only reason. Your horoscope remains the same. So it's pretty much up to us. Okay, let's move to Jupiter because this will be otherwise.
Yes, I can talk with you forever about those.
Yes, it's so interesting. But Jupiter, let's look at Jupiter because it's also very interesting. Around the 5th of July until the 16th of July, he will be stationary, and after that, he's becoming direct. Well, this is really wonderful, and from here we can benefit, especially people who have Sun in Libra. ascendant,
In
mid-heaven.
Ah, because you mean the sidereal Libra and tropical
Yes,
Scorpio, guys. Yes, because yes, sidereal Libra or tropical Scorpio. Yes.
Exactly. Yes, sorry. Yes, that I didn't mention this. Yes, so this could be people who have Jupiter. This particular time when he will become direct could bring some nice anything. Knowing what Jupiter stands for, he's signifying children, gifts, all these general benefits, just name it. This is Jupiter. Depends where he is, how he is positioned, whether he's afflicted or not, he can bring all these benefits to people. Just mentioning this.
Good. So there are good news as well. I've been looking forward to this Jupiter forward. It's been retrograde in my 9th house, and I just could not travel. And now, about the time it moves direct, I'll be finally. I received all my green cards and visas, and finally I can travel. So, which is great.
Yes. Just be cautious of Mars. Exactly the same story with Mars. Just to mention that yesterday I said to other heavy accident because of Mars, car accident. So be cautious with Mars. You know that he became retrograde now, and this will be up until August somewhere. So we have to be very cautious, especially people which have Capricorn, Cancer. You know this axis, ascendant, Sun, Moon, midheaven, Cancer, Capricorn, and then we will mention a bit in a second about the eclipses, which also will affect this particular line.
Yes, if you're following tropical zodiac, if you have Aquarius, Leo, ascendant, Sun, or Moon, where Mars will be till sometime in August, till the middle of August.
Yes, yeah, it will be a retrograde. Indeed, yes. So this is to say that we have to be very, very cautious. He's not very, even though he's in Capricorn, where he is exalted, you know, he's with Ketu, now retrograde. This is not good. Again, for world markets. It is not good for personally. If we take into consideration that Mark can represent the husband, the masculine figure, yes, the male, you can have issues also in your private life, in your love relationships, also because he's afflicting Venus now. From the start of the month, I mean, from June 15th, when the lunar month is starting. So just, we need to be cautious and listen to our intuition. When the intuition says don't travel, just don't travel.
Oh, wow. And you started saying that the ancient Babylonians considered Mars like the bigger malefic, not Saturn, isn't it?
Yes,
Mars can turn your life in a second. Car accident, like you had yesterday, that your car was totaled, things got you, you're healthy and you're alive, or like something suddenly happening that turns your life around. This is due to Mars, I guess. Yeah.
Exactly. The sudden changes until they didn't have Uranus, and Mars was bringing the sudden changes and still is, you know.
Yeah. Now they've added.
Yeah.
The cosmos said, "Oh, you're tougher now. We're gonna add Uranus as well and Pluto."
Yes. Very briefly about the eclipses, and then we can talk also about day per day. But very briefly to say about the eclipses. Now we have two, which are coming in July. The first one is a partial solar. We will not give too much of attention to the partial solar eclipse because unfortunately only the Australians, New Zealand, they will experience it, but it will be limited there. And it is happening in the last degrees, sidereally, in the last degrees of Gemini. This will be tropical Cancer, yes. This is the solar, so just keep in mind that for temporary your luck might be a bit locked, but it's important indeed where this eclipse will be visible from, so they will suffer the most. After that, also for the tropical zodiac and also for the sidereal, we have this eclipse happening in Cancer, in Capricorn, where Mars will be involved.
Tropically, it's in the 4th degree.
27.
The lunar one, yeah. Otherwise,
yes, exactly.
Sidereally.
Yes, exactly. So this eclipse is going to be the time for talking about time, will take the longest time in the century. We don't know about such a long eclipse, which will start from the 27th and continue until the 28th. And it is said to be the most powerful eclipse of the time. I don't know. That is why.
Years. In the last 120 years, there hasn't been a longer eclipse, and it's going to be visible through all of Europe. And that kind of portends something.
This is, yes.
Will people who live on the other side, like the Americans, they're not going to see it? Are they going to, like, if you live there, is it going to impact you personally?
Not as powerfully as it would impact the Europeans.
Mm-hmm. What about in your personal horoscope? You're there, you're not seeing it directly. Can it still turn your life around in some way if it affects ascendant, sun, moon?
I think so, because when there was the eclipse in Leo, and it was not seen visible in Europe, I had trouble because I have Leo rising. Yes, you can.
Your dad cut your 2 fingers, didn't he, or something?
Also, yes. See, this is what I mean. Even though the eclipse cannot be visible from some parts of the world, they can still feel it because we are all on Earth. Well, it might not be as powerful as it would be from the places where the shadow is.
Oh my God. I'm traveling 3 days after the eclipse, exactly on my ascendant to where the eclipse is happening. But I have your protective ring. Krasi made this for me. It's a talisman that she made on a day when Venus was extremely strong. She dressed like Venus. She put smells like Venus, music like Venus, aromas. She fasted for 2 weeks before that. She made prayers. She cleansed herself. And she even sent it to me with Venus flowers. It was smelling for days and days of those Venus flowers. And it's a Venus stone. It's a rose quartz. So that's why I'm prettier, guys, now. If you think I'm protected, because Venus is this protective influence. And what I've noticed, Krasi, since I've put this on, I don't get angry as much. Before I used to get angry and I need to, like, I want to drink or do something. Now I'm like, chill. Like, Venus makes me more calm and relaxed. And it's even though Mars is retrograde, I have my moments, but way less than other times when Mars has become retrograde. So I feel much more zen. It's funny how it affects you. And I feel like more diplomatic than other times because Venus is in my 3rd house. So usually when I get upset, I'll write things that I regret about. And now I'm diplomatic and kind to clients and business communication. So it's been, it's funny how it affects, and I'm more patient with my partner as well. And the fighting, I go and try and talk to him and try. I usually gather up. I don't say things that upset me. And I just burst out and I start, getting angry at the person after a few days if I've been gathering anger. Now, instead of that, I just, when something bothers me, and I go and communicate diplomatically. So that's what's been happening. I wanted to tell you. I couldn't tell you privately, but yeah, something is really affecting me in a different way. I feel like the queen of diplomacy.
Lovely that you're sharing this. I wanted to have your feedback, indeed.
Yes, I'm definitely. Yeah, thank you so much, guys. Krasi makes rings, and she also makes consultations about what talisman. She would find your weakest planet in the horoscope and she would say we have to fortify this one. It's usually something that you're lacking in your life, or something that you make mistakes a lot with. That's your weakest planet. And Krasi makes a talisman. You see, and they're very rare openings for when a planet is very strong. She might have to wait like for 5-6 months or a year sometimes for a planet to become very strong, and she starts fasting and she goes all out. She goes very witchy.
Thank you for saying that I'm witchy. I love it.
White witchy. White witchy.
Yes, it's lovely. It's a wonderful experience to make this.
Yes, you're super excited about that. And Krasi also has a webinar how you can make your own talismans and how to choose the correct time, if and it's so much more affordable. And there is a sale now, guys. it's a little bit decreased, so go and check it out if you want to learn the ancient art of talisman making and witchcraft. Astrology magic, we call it. Sorry. Go back to the eclipses. No more.
Yes, for me it was very important to hear your feedback, that this makes you happy, brings joy to me as well. I really feel yeah.
We ring sisters.
The same, yes. I treat this like living spirit, or yeah, wonderful.
Oh, like capturing the spirit of a living entity, a living higher consciousness in Venus on your finger, you know. And guys, your skin can get better. Venus, it's just start becoming more beautiful, because that's what Venus is about. Anyway, no more. I'm just excited that these things work so well, you know.
Works well because I receive dreams usually after making ritual, and I don't dream at all. This is very, for me, surprise. When I ask the spirit for just proof that you were here, that you did your work for me, I get a dream which is always very special after making ritual for a talisman, every time.
Wow. What, did you have like a naked woman Venus seducing you in the dream?
No, but just different dreams, which is not typical for me, because if this is a person who dreams every night, then you would not really distinguish it. Yes. But I do not dream.
Wow. I envy you. I wake up tired every night from adventures. Okay, yeah. Back to the astrology.
Yes, we go to this, especially to the eclipse on the 27th, 28th. What we know about this eclipse is that the moon will be too near the Earth, very, very near. So this is fortifying the power of the eclipse. Mars is there, we said, so this could have not really very positive effect. Which lunar day is this? This is the 13th lunar day. What the ancients said, I absolutely don't want to scare you, but I want to teach you to pray until the eclipse is happening, not to watch it. Just pray, connect with the moon in a good way. This can certainly help. So this is certainly, what am I saying is the truth, but not to scare the people, but to tell them that there is a way by connecting to God, to the lunar god, to help yourself, but not to go out, not to try to watch it. This is really not good. So what is happening? The 13th lunar day is a bad omen. It's not supposed to happen in the 13th lunar day. So they would even make special rituals at that time to soften the influences. The other thing is, if you divide the evening and the day by so-called watches, you have 3 watches in the day, 3 watches in the night. The later the watch, the shorter the impact of the eclipse. So let's hope that because this eclipse is happening in the 3rd day watch, we hope that we might feel it a bit, hopefully less than it would last otherwise.
Well, yes, but it's a Mars eclipse. It's the strongest one in 120 years. And it's happening in the 3rd watch. Yes, maybe something can happen that shake us, but it's like one thing, you know. What do you think for the world can happen? Like, well, what is like earthquakes? I'm not much sure what eclipses bring to the world generally.
Yes, it is happening in the month of Shabbat, and this is not a good. Will have an impact on Europe, and also the watch and the timing and the day. Just to see exactly the lunar month. Give me 1 second. Yes. The degrees where the eclipse is happening is the 17 degrees tropically, astronomically of Cancer.
They do it.
Oh, no, excuse me. This is the opposition. No. 1 second. Apologies. I looked at the wrong date. 1 second.
The constellation of Capricorn, isn't it?
Apologies. I'm looking at the opposition in another day. According to when you look at this, you know, the ancient astrolabe, when I'm looking at the constellations, I don't want to go into very much detail because we have to talk also about day per day. Just to say, the impact that I don't like will be mainly on Europe. And how I see this: natural disasters, earthquakes, possible, volcanoes, because you have Mars there, this Martian energy in the eclipse. We will have markets which will suffer. Also because of Saturn, which is making combination, we may have the gold down. Just trade war is possible between China and America, because there is this small possibility America to be afflicted, but Europe will be like a central body that will be afflicted. And this is related to the lunar month, which is have to do with this. This is reflected to the timing of the eclipse. When I look at the watches, the lunar day, so everything is pointing to Europe this time.
Oh, yikes.
Yes. Russia may have some influence.
Russia as well. A bit of Africa has it as well. Africa sees it as well.
Oh, yes. This is about the shadows. But if we talk about which lunar month, which watch, and so on, then it is pointing towards Europe. Okay. The other thing is part of America also will see it. I think what I read. But Europe is going to be the most that will suffer this, I think. And the markets. This already started since Mars got retrograde.
And they weakened, I don't know. Okay.
Yes. How it will be felt by people. Now, when we look also at the Vedic astrology, because we cannot deny it, of course, very powerful. Mars is influencing also the 4th and the 8th places from his position. Leo rising will have impact also. So if you count 4 places from the place of Mars, it will be Aries. And Taurus, it will be his...
tropically, it's Taurus. Right.
It will be Taurus, yes. And it will be then Virgo. That may have some impact from this Martian thing, because Mars is a key figure in this eclipse, together with Ketu, of course, and yes.
So kind of sudden, more violent events, eruptions, or things like that happen.
Yes, people should be careful with their health, risky initiatives, be patient with their partners. Mars is really about the partners as well. So this is just the general picture of these eclipses. Yes. And I believe that connecting with God, with the spirit world, can be very helpful, and we should not be afraid of anything when we have God. It's just like a warning.
Yes. Now there was this prayer that's my favorite. Even when I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, God is with me. So even when we're passing through this valley of death now, guys, you know, you see just one set of steps, and that's because Jesus is carrying you. You know? You're not alone. Okay, so we can go day by day now.
Just very briefly, first, just to make 1 second, just to open my the chart. Okay, now it will be just briefly. We're starting now from the 1st of July, of course. And on the 1st of July, the moon is conjoined with Mars. So this is a day when the moon is conjoined with Mars, of course. No initiatives like traveling, just to be careful. No surgical interventions. We might have these energies and wish to do ambitious things. Just let's do the daily routine and not take any risks. Be careful with our partners, because Mars is still opposing Venus. So this is just... Mercury is visible, so we might like to do some initiatives of any sort, but be careful because of this particular lunar position. Then on the 2nd of July and the 3rd of July, the moon is in Aquarius. Well, we know very beautiful and very spiritual degrees, especially on the 2nd of July when the moon is conjoined Fomalhaut, the very spiritual star, the spiritual priest. We might have this impetus of spiritual work, meditating. We may do this. This is maybe one of the few days possible for surgical interventions. Not very good for new initiatives, because the moon is warning. Then we have...
Yes, sorry.
No, I just want to know if you hear me well. Yes. Then we have the 4th.
That's what you said, so yeah. Okay.
Yes, the 4th of July, the moon is having no course, void of course. Do nothing in particular, no new initiatives, no Void of course moon is not appropriate for any new things, no new plans, just nothing, no operations, surgical interventions, no. 5th and 6th of July, the moon is afflicted by Saturn, good for spiritual practices, good for your routine work, not good for surgical interventions. 7th, 8th of July, the moon is afflicted, unfortunately, by Mars. It is conjoined with Uranus. You might have the impetus to do some initiatives, to do new things. Just be cautious, do your routine work. Don't travel. Try not to travel on the 7th and the 8th because the moon is with Uranus afflicted by Mars. Certainly not appropriate. 9th and 10th, especially 9th, the moon is passing through Aldebaran, quite powerful in terms of finances. You might have good gain at your work. Again, don't do new initiatives because the moon is approaching her last crescent. So it might not produce the results you want, but you might have good beneficial day at work. Financially, you might be, wow, this is 9th and 10th. Even, no, on the 11th, the moon is invisible. 11th, 12th, 13th, these 3 days of invisible moon are the days when the moon is descending to the underworld to take care of the destinies of the death. So such moon is really, and you have the eclipse on the 13th, such moon is not good for anything but prayers. Connecting the lunar god, which is wonderful, just connecting, ask for support because these are the days of the eclipse. So really only meditating, praying, and that is it. Not good for anything. Absolutely not good for surgeries. Not good for new initiatives. Not good for traveling. There was one day where my teacher called me and said, "Can you check which lunar day is this? Because on my way I see only accidents." And it was invisible moon. So just to keep in mind, don't travel. And then on the 14th, we have the first lunar day, which is happening immediately, of course, after this eclipse in Cancer. Well, it's the first lunar day, but very powerful because then in the evening after the sun sets, you see the first lunar crescent, and this is beautiful, watch it. The moon is afflicted by opposition from Mars, and it's together with the lunar node Rahu. So special, complex day will be. There is also Mercury conjoined the moon. Could be good for some, with caution, of course. Be cautious if you would like to do some writing, publishing, oratory activity, teaching, studying. Better to do this out of risk. Do you hear me well, Wada?
Yes, yes.
I'm checking from time to time to be sure. Okay. So this is happening on the 14th. First lunar day, powerful, but be cautious. This is not exactly the most wonderful lunar day that you would like to have. And this is describing the next lunar month. Then on the 15th, the moon is conjoined Regulus. Wonderful. This is maybe one of the few great lunar days because there is also Venus is already very near, and Regulus is a royal star, wonderful, very white, very near the ecliptic, very influential. So this could be a day of new initiatives, but again, cautious. Mars is still very powerful. Saturn is already retrograde. So whatever you do, double check, but still this is a good day for new initiatives. Absolutely not good for surgical interventions because the waxing moon, it's not really the most appropriate moon for such activities. 16th, again, very good for astrologers. Also the 15th was wonderful for astrologers because most of the and esoterics and occultists, people which are interested in the secret esoteric sciences, until the moon is in Sidereal Leo, this will be very productive for doing astrology, esoteric, secret things. Travel you may, just don't do surgical interventions. Negotiate you may. 17th, 18th, the moon is in Virgo. This is great for trade activities. Also, these are the 4th and 5th lunar days, very powerful. They were considered the most powerful lunar days in Babylon. One of the reasons is that the moon has sextile, good aspect with the sun. And in Virgo, you know, there is this Spica or Spica, a star which is helping in terms of trade, negotiation. It's a beautiful spiritual star as well, but it's more concerned with communication and trade. So you might have good time at your work negotiating. And in this particular day, Moon and Mercury exchanged places. So really, you may feel very motivated to study, to teach, to work, to communicate, and you might have good results. Again, be cautious that the other factors on the sky are not wonderful, and these are Saturn and Mars. I'm just saying that when you do this, whatever you do, double check with your intuition. This is the only correct voice of God. Okay, then you have 19th and 20th, when the moon is in Libra, conjoined with Jupiter. Wonderful. Again, in terms of creating beauty, good for travel. It's not appropriate for surgical interventions. It is the moon is still quite powerful, may produce too powerful results that you might not like. Good for travel, good for your routine work, good for giving spiritual lessons, good for producing beauty, for designers, for artists. This could be, they could feel motivated intrinsically. This could be really good. 21, be cautious. The moon has no course. It will not hurt you, it will not harm you, but might not do anything. If you start new initiative, you might end up nowhere. Also, no surgical interventions on that day. I'm trying to be fast because we spoke too much in the beginning. So
I think people appreciate fast and direct information like that.
Yes, I noticed this. That's why also. Yes,
notes, guys, write your notes.
Yes. 22nd, the moon is detriment in a foul in Scorpio. Be careful. I noticed with people, with horoscopes, with elections that I made, the moon is not happy. Also because the moon on the 22nd, 23rd will pass through the degrees of Antares, you know. This is the powerful star on the belly of the Scorpio, quite Martian, quite powerful. So I would say be careful with traveling, new initiatives. The moon is not really giving it may give result, but it can made up with having conflict with someone. Like I made super election for event. The election gave result, but then I had fight with my partner. So this is a bit of a complicated moon, you know, in Scorpio. This is 21st, 22nd. On the 22nd, 23rd, 24th, the moon is entering Sagittarius, conjoined with Saturn, which is retrograde. Very careful. We have to be very careful in any sense. Just this moon can trigger the effects of Saturn, which is not really very beneficial being retrograde, you know. So I would say on this particular day, certainly no operations, surgical, certainly no new initiatives, just be cautious. No conflicts, no risky mountain climbings and such sorts of things. This is also on the 25th. On the 26th, the moon is void, of course. Again, careful. I already mentioned how unproductive the moon can be when there is no course. Imagine the moon is producing the biggest action and movement for all of us, and when she's like frozen, she can't produce anything. Even she can have negative effects depending on the position. 10th, 11, the moon is in Capricorn. You know, there is Mars. There is also Ketu. Certainly don't travel. Certainly be aware not to have conflicts with anyone, not to get involved in risky situations. So these are timings to be really powerful, especially because then Mars is having opposition with the Sun and is in a powerful phase of acronical rise. And he's like getting born again.
10, the 11th, that's later on, sorry.
This is happening on the 27th,
okay.
28th.
That's the eclipse time, yeah. 27.
Exactly, yes. Oh, yes, 20. See, I forgot this is the eclipse time, yes. Even without the eclipse, Mars is in acronical rise, retrograde, powerful. He's like, you know, symbolically, he's rising, the Sun is setting. He's very, very strong. So, these timings, as we said, Wada, pray, connect with the spirit world. People would stay in the temple in antiquity, contemplate, certainly wouldn't do any daily activities if possible. And this is on the Saturday, so it's possible.
Just, wow. I'm flying 2 days later. Now
well, it's good. 2 days is fine, just not to be the same day. But it's not very fine, I admit, but I'm sure that you are getting enough of angelic protection. I'm sure that you're praying enough to support yourself and your family. So this is the way.
Oh, thank you. There is a way out.
Yeah, unfortunately, we can't do so much. Yeah.
What if someone happens to have their birthday when the eclipse is happening? Does it mean the whole year ahead will be like eek?
Oh, not very. Yes. It's not good. It is not good. If it's happening on your birthday, I know that there is this way of predicting events. You know, it's very simple and so it can be accurate. On your birthday, go out at the time of your birthday. It's like if you're born at 1 o'clock, just go out and look at the sky. Whatever the sky is showing, this will be your year. If it's cloudy, it will be cloudy. If it's rainy, could be beneficial. If it's a summer, July, beautiful rain, it could be even very generously beneficial. Just look at the sky. Don't make your solar chart. If you're born on 1st of January in the day, on 1st of January, look at the sky and remember what the sky is showing you. Quite true, believe me.
Should you remember, for example, if a birth passes over or something?
Why not? Especially powerful is this in the Vedic astrology. You know that they would look, they did in Babylon as well, but in the Prashna, you know, of the Vedic astrology, they would look at, if you ask a Horarian, at that time an eagle is flying, this would have a meaning. In Babylon, it's the same. If you would go to the astrologer and if you see a certain sign or a cat passing, this would have another meaning. Yes, you should take into consideration everything.
Thank you. So basically, the day of your birthday, watch what's happening. Are you seeing couples fighting, or are you seeing? I remember the year that I met my husband on my birthday. Before that, I went outside in the garden and I saw 2 white cats so in love. They were like playing in love, and I was like, should be a good year for love, and you know.
Absolutely, it works 100%. We need just to watch for these signs. Of course, look at the sky, but also look around what is happening on this particular day. It works.
Wonderful.
Everything happens for a reason.
Great.
There's many examples.
Yeah. So then after the eclipse, what is it? 29th?
29th, 30th, the moon is in Aquarius. This is wonderful, but we'll already be like, boom, hit by the eclipse. So I don't know if we will be happy enough, you know, to celebrate the Aquarius spirituality. We might be a bit eclipsed.
With fears.
It is 29th, 30th, 6th, 17th lunar day. Yeah, it will be, well, I think that with, if we really think, I don't like this cliche positively, but yes, we have to in this particular case.
Yes. Thank you, Krasi. I want you one day to come out here and to say it will be the best month. You can do everything. It's gonna be the best month in years. But yeah, I guess.
Look, we create our reality. Let's conclude with something. You know, Bin Sadun, I'm sure you're mentioning him so often, and there is information on your website about Bin Sadun. You know what he's saying? When you go to a fortune teller and he's saying that bad things will happen and they don't happen, it means that the person prayed so much that God changed his will.
Amen.
The destiny.
So be kind, be good, and we're gonna push through those eclipses, and we're gonna defy the dark forces, the light and forces with you guys. Stay positive and kind in your hearts, and that's what's gonna help us through these times. Well, thank you so much, Krasi.
Pleasure. The pleasure was mine.
Do you have anything that you want to add more?
We said so much, I don't know anymore. I think we said quite a lot.
Thank you so much, Krasi, for your meticulous preparation, for giving us this information through the eyes of the ancient astrologers, and for the beautiful talisman that you gave me. Thank you again. And guys, if you want, have a reading with Krasi, and she'll look at your horoscope according to ancient Babylonian rules. You can find her on the website. I'm putting a link below, and you can also have readings about talismans, and and she can make you talismans as well. So thank you, Krasi. I can't wait to see you next time, which means we've survived the eclipses.
It will be much better because Mars is becoming direct again. I think in August somewhere he would become direct again. Was it August? But it should be better, a better month.
August, sure. Direct. But I'll see you at the end of July for the August videos, and I'll be in Bulgaria, so hopefully we can meet up.
This would be great. I promise better forecast next time.
There is another eclipse. Don't promise too much. In August, there is another eclipse.
And don't forget, one prayer can really change your life. One prayer which comes out of your heart. So this was not meant to give any negative, to create any negative thoughts, just to warn you that you can help yourself.
Thank you, Krasi. Thank you for reminding us this. Because we forget sometimes that, there is higher power. And on that positive note, wishing you a great week ahead. No fears, you're protected if you walk. If you walk with the light and the goodness. So thank you so much, and see you very soon again. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.